The scene opens over the calm morning waters of the Thames River. London awakens under a pale golden light. Bells ring in distant churches as merchants shout in the busy docks. Great wooden ships, their sails white and clean, rock gently against the current. The smell of salt and oak fills the air. Narrator, deep cinematic tone. Here, on this small island, a dream was born, a dream that would shape centuries to come. England, once isolated and uncertain, looked toward the seas with hunger in its heart. We see Queen Elizabeth I standing in her royal court, gazing upon a large map of the world, much of it still blank. She listens to explorers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh, men who promise new lands, riches, and power. Their words are fire, their ambition unstoppable. Cut to. Waves crash against the hull of a ship. Cannons glisten in the sun. Sailors raise the St. George's Cross and set sail toward the unknown. These voyages were dangerous. Storms, disease, and the endless ocean claimed many lives. Yet each ship that survived returned with tales of strange lands and endless opportunity. As the 1600s begin, the English start building their first colonies. In 1607, Jamestown is founded in America. The camera pans over the dense forests of Virginia as weary settlers build wooden forts and plant their first crops. Hunger, cold, and disease take their toll, but the dream survives. Voiceover. The English spirit was relentless. Driven by faith, gold, and glory, they began to shape a new world, one colony, one port, one victory at a time. The music swells. Ships sail west across the Atlantic and east toward Africa and India. The seeds of the British Empire are now in the soil of history. The world opens wide. The camera glides over the Caribbean, where the turquoise sea meets golden islands. The year is 1655, and British soldiers storm the shores of Jamaica, seizing it from Spain. Smoke rises as cannons roar. The Union Jack is raised high. Voiceover. Trade, territory, power. The British Empire was no longer a dream, it was becoming a reality carved into the earth. Cut to. The East India Company headquarters in London. A massive globe turns slowly. Merchants sign papers, investors count coins, and ships set sail for Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. In India, British merchants trade silk, spices, and tea, but soon, trade becomes domination. Scene shifts to Africa, the coast of Ghana and Sierra Leone. British forts stand firm as ships exchange goods and humans. The Atlantic slave trade becomes one of the darkest chapters of the empire's rise. The visuals turn grim: chains, crowded decks, tears, and silence. Narration. The empire's foundations were built on both ambition and agony. While trade brought wealth to London, millions suffered under its shadow. Then comes the Caribbean again, lush plantations filled with sugarcane. British overseers ride horses as enslaved people toil under the burning sun. The empire grows rich beyond imagination, but its moral cost deepens. Cut to the Americas, Boston, New York, and the 13 colonies, bustling with trade but restless under British rule. The scene closes as drums echo in the distance, a hint of the coming revolution. The screen glows with the golden morning over London, now an industrial giant. Steam rises from chimneys, trains thunder across bridges, and factories hum with life. The empire stands at its peak. Narrator. In the age of Queen Victoria, the British Empire ruled 1/4 of the earth's land and people. It was said that the sun never set upon its flag. We see a montage: soldiers in red coats marching in India, explorers mapping Africa, and ships connecting continents. The empire's presence stretches from Canada to Australia, from Hong Kong to Egypt. Inside Buckingham Palace, Queen Victoria sits beside maps colored red, her empire vast, proud, and seemingly eternal. Missionaries spread Christianity, engineers build railways and telegraph lines, the English language begins to weave itself across the globe. But behind the glory lies unrest. In India, the Sepoy Rebellion erupts in 1857, muskets fire, cities burn, and thousands perish. The narrator's tone darkens. Empires are not built without resistance. The same fire that built it began to burn within it. The camera follows the Industrial Revolution's march: factories, slums, children working in soot and steel. Britain's wealth glitters, but inequality grows. Yet the empire's influence reaches every continent, shaping governments, trade routes, and even dreams. The scene ends with a slow zoom out from Earth's globe, bathed in red, the empire's color, while distant thunder rolls across the sky. Dark clouds roll over Europe. The drums of World War I thunder. British soldiers march through the mud of Flanders, their faces hardened by fear. Alongside them, Indian, African, and Australian troops fight under the same flag. Voiceover. The Empire's power was tested in the fires of war. Its colonies bled for a crown oceans away. As the war ends, victory feels hollow. Graves stretch across Europe. Back in the colonies, whispers of freedom grow louder. In India, Mahatma Gandhi begins his peaceful resistance. In Africa and the Caribbean, new voices demand equality. Then comes World War II. London burns under the Blitz. Churchill's voice echoes through the radio, "We shall never surrender." But behind the courage, exhaustion sets in. The empire is stretched thin. Japan attacks British colonies in Asia, the myth of invincibility shatters. After 1945, Britain stands victorious but broken. Its economy. The screen fades from the chaos of war to a new dawn. The year is 1947. The camera glides over the ancient walls of New Delhi, where crowds gather under the blazing Indian sun. British soldiers stand solemnly as the Union Jack flutters one last time. Slowly, the flag is lowered, and the new flag of India rises, orange, white, and green, with the spinning wheel of freedom at its heart. The people cheer, some cry, some kneel. The empire's most precious jewel is no longer under the British crown. Narrator. Deep, reflective tone. The empire that once ruled over a quarter of the earth began to fade. Its colonies, long held in the grip of foreign power, now claimed their independence, one after another. The visuals shift to Pakistan, born from the same moment, trains filled with families moving across a divided land. Faces full of hope and heartbreak. The narrator continues, "In the wake of liberation came division. Borders were drawn in haste, and millions were forced to leave their homes." The end of empire was not only a political change, it was a human one. The camera cuts to Ghana, 1957. Drums beat. Dancers fill the streets. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first prime minister, raises his hands to the sky as fireworks light up the night. A new chapter for Africa begins. Then, Kenya, Nigeria, Jamaica, Barbados, one by one, nations rise from the shadow of empire. The red-painted world map of the 1800s fades, replaced by a mosaic of independent flags. Narrator. Freedom spread across continents. The world that Britain once controlled began to speak with its own voice. Cut to London, 1960s. Rain falls over the River Thames. The British Empire has vanished, replaced by a new organization, the Commonwealth of Nations. The camera moves across Buckingham Palace, where Queen Elizabeth II shakes hands with leaders from newly independent states. Men and women who once ruled under her ancestors' empire, now stand as equals. Voiceover. The Commonwealth became a bridge, not of domination, but of dialogue. Though the empire had ended, its echoes remained, in language, in law, and in life. We see classrooms in India, Nigeria, and Caribbean islands, where children learn English. Courtrooms built in colonial times still operate under British-style law. Cricket matches play under tropical suns. The legacy of empire has taken new forms, both gifts and ghosts. The tone deepens. The music shifts to a quiet piano melody. The British Empire left behind more than just nations, it left behind questions. Could an empire born from conquest also inspire unity? Could the scars of colonialism ever truly heal? A montage unfolds. Protesters in the 1970s demanding reparations and justice. Commonwealth athletes competing together under one banner. British cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, now alive with cultures from every corner of the former empire. Indian restaurants, Caribbean festivals, African markets, a living reflection of history. Narrator. In its final transformation, the empire came home. The very people it once ruled became part of its new identity. Britain itself became a mirror of the world it once governed. The visuals moved to modern London, red buses crossing bridges, skyscrapers gleaming beside centuries-old architecture, and the voices of dozens of languages filling the air. The camera glides past the Houses of Parliament, the Tower of London, and the British Museum, where artifacts from across the world rest, silent witnesses to centuries of conquest and exchange. The narrator continues softly, "The empire is gone, yet its influence lingers, in borders drawn, in roads built, in languages spoken. It shaped the modern world, for better and for worse." Cut to a classroom in Kenya, a museum in India, a bustling market in Jamaica. Each scene reflects a different legacy, education, culture, resilience. The people once colonized are now the storytellers of their own history. The music rises, filled with hope and reflection. The narrator concludes, "The story of the British Empire is not a tale of one nation alone. It is a story of humanity, of ambition and arrogance, of suffering and survival, of loss and rebirth. Though the empire has fallen, its legacy endures, written in the fabric of nations, in the words we speak, and in the lessons we must never forget." As the music swells, the camera pulls back into space, the Earth slowly rotating. The lights of cities across the world shine like stars. A final title fades onto the screen. Empires rise and fall, but their stories live forever. Soft orchestral music carries the credits as the scene fades to black.